Welcome back. Today's project is going to be a very basic sewing project. So if you are a brand new sewist, this is a good starter project. If you're an experienced sewist, this will be a project that you can run up a whole bunch in a day and have a lot of really fun bags. We're going to be working with Kwik Sew 3612, and we're making this great big bag right here. I would use it as a shopping bag personally. It's sort of a good catch-all bag. I also think I might put my crochet in it. This would be a good one to take my crochet places with me. When you look at these pattern pieces, you really could sew this without a pattern. It is 2 rectangles is the entire pattern. So let me show you what they look like. We have a handle. This is for the handle. And this square, this rectangle, is almost a square. It's a 1/4 inch away from being a square. It is 18 inches long and 17 3/4 inches wide. That's it. This rectangle is mostly what we're going to be using. It is set up for using lots of different fabrics. I'm going to be using scrap from my stash. This is a great scrap buster, especially if you have sort of big chunks. You've cut something out and you have a corner left of your fabric. This is a great one to use it in. You end up needing to cut 8 squares if you want to. It's pretty much reversible. It'll be the same front and back, except one side folds to the other where you can see where you've made the channel for your elastic and your handles. So let me show you the fabrics that I've pulled out. And you may recognize these and you may not. These are some, and I just was looking for pieces that I think are big enough. So I'm hoping this one is big enough to get at least 1 square out of, I'm hoping. And then I've got this Liberty of London. I've got, this is a really old one, and I know I have enough of it to get a couple squares, or I hope I do. Look at that, it's really fun. It looks like old antique labels. And then I have this cute gingham that I used in my denim project, and I might line the whole thing in denim, and I will show you how, if you want to have a solid lining on the inside, how to make how to do that instead of having a pieced lining. So all we're going to do to start with is I'm going to cut out my 4 for my outer 4 rectangles, and if I can, I'm going to get 4 different fabrics. If I have enough that are big enough, I'll have 4 separate fabrics. If not, I may have some repeats, but we just need 4 rectangles to start with. And then you need 2 of these for your handle. But what I did is I went to Hobby Lobby today, because you put a cord inside, and I didn't have any cord heavy enough. You need cord about this size, but you don't want this multicolor because it'll shadow through depending on the fabric you use. But you could just use a decorative trim like this, or a decorative cord. So this one I'm not going to use today, but I thought it was so cute. I went ahead and bought it because it was 40% off. And you know, you got to stock up when it's a bargain like that. This one, though, I think I will use today, and it's a braided cord. So instead of making my handle, I'm just going to use this for my handle today, and it looks great with my fabrics. And I just like the look. I think it's really cute braided. So this will be my handle, which again cuts the time down a lot. So I'm going to cut out 4 pieces right now, and then I'll show you how to do lining in a minute. Hopefully I have enough of this one. I'm a little worried there's not quite enough. Oh, it doesn't fit. Just not quite big enough. Nope. I'm layering and cutting where I can, so I have 2 fabrics here lined up just to make sure I can get my rectangle out of it. I'm going to get these 2 cut. I found another fabric because I wanted 4 different fabrics for the outside, so I found this one. I'm going to use it for one of the layers, and then one of these, so I'll have 4 different outside fabrics, and then I'll show you how to cut the lining. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and sew these 4 pieces together first, and then we're gonna use that sewn piece to cut our solid lining piece. And I think I'm gonna add an interior pocket too. Let's figure out how we want them laid out as far as how it's going to look. That is, what pieces we want next to each other. What do you think? I think that's how I'm going to do it. So we're just going to sew 2 pieces like this and 2 pieces like this on this edge, and then we'll open it up and we'll sew these 2 together straight across. Let's head over to the sewing machine. All right, I've got my my 1/4 inch foot on, and we're going to line up 2 of our pieces. We're sewing the long side 2 together, right sides together, and we're going to do this for 2 panels. Just sew one side together. If you sew with interior weight fabrics, that's the heavier fabric, that would be the best. I'm using lighter weight. You could interface behind this if you wanted to make it firmer or stiffer. We're just straight stitching down 1/4 of an inch. We've sewn that, we're going to open it up. We're going to do that for both of them. I'm going to have 2 sets of these. We're going to open it up. We're going to press open this little seam here. Give it a good press. So I'm going to do that for both sets. So here is where we are with our directions. We've cut out 4 of these. We've sewn 2 sets like this, and now we're going to put them together along this line. I'm going to go over to the cutting table to show you, so that we'll end up with a piece that looks like this. Now you could do 2 sets of those, but I'm going to do my lining solid. So once I get this set, I'll show you how I cut my lining. Here we are with our 2 long pieces together, ready to sew those up and then cut our lining. This is the super nice shirting fabric that I used in my Sis Boom Sew boxer, and I have a nice big piece left, so it's perfect for lining this. Here are my squares all sewn together. I had to make sure this one was directional, so I wanted to make sure I didn't get it upside down when putting these together. And I'm just going to lay this on top, and we're going to cut this whole square out. I could take off a little bit because it folds over to make the casings and stuff, but this is lightweight enough, I'm not even worried about it. So I'm just going to lay this on top to cut myself a lining. Now before I sew this together, I do want to put a pocket on the inside, so I'm going to take some of these fabrics to make a pocket. I'm just going to cut 2 squares, sew them together, pull it through to do a self-line pocket to put on the inside. So I'm going to go do all of those things. I'll show you back over at the ironing board. So I won't be pinning these together just yet. I'm just cutting. I think I'll use this for the pocket. I think I'll line it with this. Okay, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and cut my elastic pieces and my pieces for the straps. let's head over to the sewing machine and put it all together. So we're all set up. I'm going to make my pocket. Let's see if I figure out where I stuck it. Where did I put the pocket that I just cut out? Found my pocket piece. We're going to just sew this together, right sides together. I'm going to sew around and leave a little hole in the bottom to turn it through so that it'll be a self-lined pocket. So I'm just going to sew this at 1/4 inch. I'll put this on my lining and sew it to it. All right, I've pinned it on. That's sort of the placement for the lining. You can see this is from one edge. And I'm just going to top stitch it around 3 sides. It's open down here at the bottom. Let me hold this. This is where it's open, where I turned it, and it'll get stitched across and sealed up. So not even going to worry about it. This is a little bit lightweight, and I've been debating whether or not I want to interface behind it, if it's going to get a lot of wear and tear. I'm pretty much just going to stick a crochet needle in it, so I think I'm not going to worry about it. All right, this is the top of my pocket, and I'm going to do a little triangle at the top. So I'm starting upside down so that I can start right at my edge. I'm going to take a couple stitches and sew at a slight angle up to the top. Trying to decide how close I want to get it. And then I'm going to take like 2 stitches across, whoops, sink it, and then come down. And this just reinforces that, that pocket. And then I'll do the same thing when I get to the other side. I'll come back around and make a little jump. And when I sew across the bottom here, I will be catching this opening and sealing it shut. I'm going to put a pin in it to hold it. Look, and it makes it nice and secure. Okay, now that I have a pocket on, I'm going to just sew these together, and it shows sewing them right sides together all the way around, and we're just going to leave a little hole in one little spot for turning it through, kind of like we just did with our pocket. So we're going to decide where we want the pocket, on which side. I'm going to put it on this side, and again, sewing 1/4 inch all the way around. We're just going to pin it together and sew. And when sewing something big like this, I'm going to go ahead and engage my, my even feed foot to make my life a little easier. All right, we're all pinned together. Just gonna leave a spot to keep it open. This is gonna be my opening right here. All right, leave a hole big enough to turn it through. We're going to clip our corners, just so we have nice sharp corners. We're gonna flip it and press it. If you have the pattern and you're following along, we just completed step 3. So now we're gonna turn and press and we'll start making our casing. So let me find where I left my opening. You just need to leave an opening big enough to turn it through, to get your hand in. Okay, so we have a bag with a little opening on one side that's going to be right here. Here's our little hole. Okay, when we press it, just make sure you press it so that it's closed. You don't have to necessarily sew it now because when we turn down for the casing, we'll stitch across it. So that's what we're going to do next. This hole that I made is going to be taken care of when we do handles. We're going to come to the side here and we're going to fold down this way 1.5 inches. Is that right, 1.5? Yep, fold down 1.5 inches. I'm going to press the whole thing first, then we're going to press down at 1.5 inches, sew it, and that's what our elastic's going to go in. See my pocket there? This is the side. So we're going to do that for both sides. So let's head over to the ironing board. This is the side seam. You can see by the direction of my pattern here of the fabric, and we're going to measure up 1.5 inches. So I'm actually setting my metal ruler in and just pulling it up till it hits the 1.5 inches. Giving it a little press to hold it. Metal ruler you can iron over. And then putting a pin in it. And then moving down. And we're going to do that all the way down the whole thing. For both sides. And then just top stitch. All right, so we've done to here. We've turned up our 1.5 inches. We're up to this point. So we're ready for step 4. When turning back down for your 1.5 inches, you're going to start 3 inches from the edge on both sides. And that is because that's where we're going to sew down our elastic at that 3-inch mark. Then we can come back and sew it shut. You don't want the elastic to be gathering in this 3 inches because that's where we're going to fold down to make the casing for our handles. So when you go to sew, here's one that's sewn. And you can see I sewed mine shut at first because I wasn't paying attention. But you're going to start, put a pin at 3 inches over, start here, backstitch, sew across, put another pin at the 3-inch mark at the other end so you'll have this open. And now we're ready to feed through our elastic. The directions have you leave it open 3 inches on each side because that's where you're going to sew down your elastic and then come back and stitch it, which I did not do because I'm a ding dong. So I'm going to come in and reinforce this at the 3-inch line and rip out 3 inches. Okay, we have our casing turned down with our, it's open 3 inches on each end. This is for the elastic. We're going to take our piece of elastic, and we're going to take our little piece of elastic with a safety pin on the end. We're going to start fishing it through, and you can see how it's open here. And we're going to get it, so this end is even with our opening, where it, the 3-inch opening. So let me fish a little bit here. You can see how it's starting to pull in. See the edge going in. When I get that edge even with this 3-inch mark, I'm going to put a pin in it. I'm watching it go in. Okay, so we want it to have just enough, a little bit of seam allowance there, about 1/4 inch, and that's where I'm at. So it's right inside there. I'm going to put a pin in it. We're going to stitch it down, and then I'm going to continue fishing to the other side, do the same thing on the other side, and then we will tack them on each end. We're just going to straight stitch over it, do it a couple of times, back stitch it, make sure it's in there good and secure. You can see now it's starting to gather up. We're starting to get the look of the bag because the bag has that neat little gathered scrunchy look. If you use really heavy fabric, it's going to be a little harder to get it to gather. It'll just be bulkier. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to do a solid lining like this. I personally just like the look, but it also, because of the weight, the lining is a little bit lighter weight, just makes it a little easier to manage. Okay, I'm out the other end here. I'm going to put a pin in it before I even take out my safety pin. And now I can remove my safety pin and we're ready to just stitch over it. This is how it looks before I've sewn it. And see how it's nice and stretchy. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and top stitch right over it. All right, so here is our 3-inch mark. You can see how there's no stitching below it. And here's my pinned in elastic. So we are just going to line up and top stitch right there so that we're catching that elastic. And if you feel like it's going to pull out, go over it a couple of times, back and forth, but make it neat. So inside, you can see there's the little bit of elastic peeking out. And this is how it looks on the casing side. This is how it looks on the right side. We're going to do that on all 4 corners of the side for our elastic casing. So once you've got your elastic in, we're going to go ahead now and top stitch close the rest of that casing to make it nice and neat before we go to fold the other way to make a casing going the opposite direction. All right, once you get both of those done on each side, we're going to go back to the ironing board and do the exact same thing. We're going to press under, going the other direction, 1.5 inches. This time, I'm just double checking, this time we can just sew all the way across. You don't have to leave open your 3 inches. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side, the exact same thing. Let me finish this one. But you're going to have 2 gathered up edges like this. All right, it should look like this. We're now going to take this edge, fold it down 1.5 inches and sew straight across to make the casing for our handles. Let's go over to the ironing board and do that. And for mine, this is where my opening is that I turned it through. So when I'm pressing, I'm gonna make sure and pin that down good. When I sew my casing going the other direction, it will sew that shut. So this is exactly the same thing we did just a minute ago. Okay, we're folding up 1.5 inches again. We're crossing it. This is where the handles are gonna go. Okay, we're in the home stretch. Our bag all put together. Here is, I gotta give it a haircut, hold on. Okay, here's the side seams. This is where the handles are gonna go. So you can see it's gonna fold up. You can kind of see how big it's going to be. So now let's make handles. To make the handles, now you can cut out the pattern piece and make your handle and turn it inside out and then take your cording piece to go through it, or you can use a pre-made cording. And what I'm choosing to do, because you actually sew the handle together after it's fished through. We're going to sew it together. I'm going to actually put a piece of ribbon around mine because this can fray, and I'm going to sew it through the ribbon just to give it a little extra stability. It doesn't have to match perfectly because this is going to get turned to the inside where it can't be seen. So we're going to start by fishing through our handles through that casing we just made. You don't want to lose the other end inside. You want to make sure that you let it gather up and that you have ends hanging out both sides of your casing when you fish it through. All right, so I have got handles sticking out on both sides, and I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to let them meet in the middle, and then I'm going to wrap the ribbon around and sew it on the edge just to seal in these things. It's taped right now to keep it together. And I'm going to leave the tape on and everything. So I'm not worried even about changing it to a red thread. I'm going to just sew it in white. I'm not zigzagging, I'm straight stitching. We'll see if my machine hates it or if I need to hand stitch it. Right now I'm just sewing it flat to get it on. Sews it fine. This will not show. This is going to get turned to the inside of the casing where it cannot be seen. So I've stitched down one side, now I'm going to stitch down the other before I wrap it. All right, that's just tacking it down. So right now I have just tacked down. It's not pretty at all. I'm not worried about it. But the edges are together, and now I can wrap my ribbon around it. See? And now I'm going to stitch it again. And you could even put a little piece of glue in there if you wanted to. A little fabric glue. And remember, this is going to get turned. We're going to pull it through so it's on the inside of this. So it's going to completely disappear. Okay, just now I'm going to take this edge, I'm going to fold it under so I have no raw edges. I'm going to stitch it again like crazy. All right. So now, not super pretty, but also will not be seen. This is how it is right now. It's pretty messy looking, but you actually pull this through so that it goes to the inside. So I'm going to, don't want to lose my other one that I'm working on, but we're going to just pull it till it goes on the inside. And you hide all that or you were just working on it. And now that messy part's on the inside, and we just move our gathers around. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one, and I'll adjust my gathers, and it's done. I'll show you what it looks like. See my pocket in there? Isn't that cute? Okay, I'm gonna go get my crochet and put in it, and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, here's my bag that I normally use for my crochet. I've got my giant Afghan here. I'm gonna put it into this, and I love this little pocket. I'm so glad I decided to put a pocket in there because I can put my scissors or my crochet hooks or whatever down in there. Okay. Oh yeah, looky there. And it opens up nice and big. This is a perfect bag for crochet or knit. Put my hooks down in the pocket. 2 more. Trash. Okay. Look at that. That is the perfect bag for crochet. Oh, I forgot my last skein. Stick it down in there. Okay. Oh, I'm so pleased, and it's so cute. This would be a great shopping bag. These elastic sides really make it nice, and look at how good that opens up for working on a project. As far as a project bag goes, I think this is a winner.